Hello, I'm Jesse McAnally.
And I am Liz Eston.
And welcome to Musical Cheese, a podcast where I try to get Andrew and Liz to like musical theater.
Okay.
What a twist.
Is that what this is about?
I guess. Unfortunately, Brianna Jones could not make it today, and we just have a lot of fun around here with the preview segment. I didn't want to ruin that. So we are inviting our video editor and host of Patreon with Cheese. It's Elizabeth Eston.
Hello.
Welcome, Liz.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you here. Because honestly, me and Andrew, we've had some difficulty the last couple of days.
Oh no.
I don't even think I can tell the story as well as you can, Andrew. Why don't you tell it?
Wait, what's the story?
You know, when we were going up into like that old place where they were like really obsessed with garlic, and we met that guy. Like you're
talking about this?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yes.
You're still on about this?
Yeah.
I'm over this already, honestly.
Well, you were in love with that girl that you just saw in a bathtub.
Yeah, but like she turned me into a vampire, and like I'm over her.
Anything else to glean from this story?
Total eclipse of the heart?
This week we are talking about Tanz Der Vampire, or The Dance of Vampires. Cue the music, Bree!
Sein Verstand ist unbestechlich, studiert das Positive, ist niemals oberflächlich, sieht immer in die Tiefe, denn sammelt die Beweise und bewertet die Motive, ja, dient auf jede Weise nur den Fortschritt und der menschlichen Kultur und der menschlichen Wahrheit, die menschliche Klarheit, die menschliche Fortschritt und die menschliche Kultur.
Tanz Der Vampire is a musical with a book by Michael Kunze, Jim Steinman, and David Ives, and music and lyrics by Jim Steinman and Michael Kunze. So, it premiered in Germany, in Stuttgart, at the Apollo Theater and ran from March 31st to 2000 to March 31st, 2003. It had also played in Hamburg at the New Flora Theater from December 7th, 2003 to January 22nd, 2006 in Berlin at the Theater of the Des Westerns from December 10th, 2006 to March 30th, 2008. And in Oberhausen in the Metronome Theater, Centro from November 7th, 2008 to January 31st, 2010. As a result of a public voting, Tanz Der Vampire returned to the Stuttgart at the Palladium Theater from February 25th, 2010 to October 16th, 2011. The show returned to the Theater des Westerns in Berlin from November 14th, 2011 to August 25th, 2013. On April 24th, 2016, Tanz Der Vampire began a touring production across Germany that concluded in March 17th, 2019. And that's just Germany. So this show is a huge success in Germany. But let's move to Broadway. Let's head to the U.S. for a brief period, all right?
The important place, yeah. This is where it matters.
After a prolonged period of development, 61 previews in total, with two of the originally set opening dates missed, the English version of Dance of the Vampires opened on Broadway on December 9th, 2002. On January 25th, 2003, after 56 performances, Dance of the Vampires closed. And according to the New York Times, it was one of the costliest musical failures in Broadway history, losing roughly $12 million, easily eclipsing the infamous musical Carrie.
Totally eclipsing, actually.
It was a total eclipse of the Carrie. But the plot of Tanz Der Vampire is this campy musical based on the Roman Polanski film The Fearless Vampire Killers follows Professor Abramtsis and his bumbling assistant Alfred as they attempt to prove the existence of vampires in Transylvania. Alfred falls for the innkeeper's daughter Sarah, unaware that she is being pursued by the mysterious Count von Krolock. All right, so we watched the German production, me and Andrew.
Yes.
And then I read about the Broadway production. And I am going to be full disclosure here. I could not finish it. I do not mean...
no.
I did... but we'll go into that history a little bit later.
Why don't we talk about that a little bit later?
Yeah. I just wanted people to go in with that context that we were going through another Wonderland, a type situation where I have a context of a completely different musical that I'm going to give Andrew information about. But Andrew, can you please tell us the plot of Tanz Der Vampire to the best of your ability?
Sure. There's a professor and his assistant who are traveling around Transylvania looking for vampires.
As you do.
Yeah, the professor's he really likes vampires, I guess. It's actually very funny. The professor is he talks about how logical it is that vampires are real, and he has all these theorems about vampires. It's very fun.
It's a good fun.
Yeah.
I think we should say up front we both like the German version very well.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It's not like amazing, but it had some good stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
So they stay at this innkeeper's house, and there's this like weird situation where the innkeeper's daughter is like being locked in her bedroom by the father, which is a bit creepy and weird. But then, as you do, so eventually
Well, he does that specifically because the boy walks in on her bathing, and then the audience gets to see her butt numerous times in that. It's weird. It's weird,
it's
unnecessary
a very good show.
nudity.
It's a very good show.
So the father's like, no daughter of mine's gotta be naked at points in her life. Time to lock her in a room.
Well, for some reason, the bathroom is shared between her bedroom and the bedroom of the guests, which is just kind of strange.
It's like a weird master bathroom situation.
Yeah, except for like with random strangers and your daughter.
I see no red flags.
Yeah, so they fall in love, of course, as you do.
Immediately, like she's in love with him, he's in love with her. He saw the titties.
They saw each other in the bathroom for 5 seconds.
I don't mean to talk about the American version so far, but it's almost like they heard your complaint about it being so direct, where he walks into her room and it's just her room at this point. And he's like, I'm going to interview her. I wonder what she will be like. He looks at her, she's naked. I am immediately in love. And that's just him taking notes aloud. And the audience laughs, goes, how can he be in love? He just saw titties. It's that kind of musical. It's that kind of musical.
Like the joke is already there, and they're just making it explicit, but
yeah,
whatever.
It's a difference between, let's say, a scary movie or an epic movie type comedy and as Robert Zemeckis comedy. Robert Zemeckis is absurd situations taken very seriously, which almost makes it funnier. Where epic movie is like hit in the balls, penis, dicks.
Yeah, I'm starting to understand why the USA version might not have been as good.
Oh, that's not. We'll get into. That's barely any of it, Andrew.
Okay, so the girl bathing again gets visited by the vampire Count von Krolock, who invites her to the midnight ball. And of course, she has to go. I think it's implied she's getting hypnotized by the vampire.
I mean, that's kind of with all vampire lore. They do have that hypnotism element. I'll defer to Liz, who watches much more vampire dramas than I do. Is that something part of them?
Vampire lore is weird. It changes depending on what you're watching.
So do they sparkle?
Yeah, sometimes they sparkle, and sometimes they burn.
I feel like this one is following very traditional.
Like the Nosferatu, kind of Bram Stoker
like
one.
Garlic crucifixes kind of stuff.
Bram Stoker did love hypnotizing people, so it does make sense.
Okay. When I think about this musical, like this for context also, we watched Drew Sarich as the vampire, who might be one of the sexiest men alive. So I totally understand why she was falling for him and his very high-pitched German voice. But why did they ever explain why he chose her, or was she just like the hottest girl around?
She happened to be naked at the time. So.
Oh, okay. Then what happens?
That's
Andrew?
Probably the real reason. For whatever reason, she decides to do it. Again, hypnotism. And the assistant follows her to wherever she's going through the woods. This part is like somehow the father also follows him, and then he gets bitten.
Yeah. And
then Alfred finds the father, like the innkeeper character.
Yeah.
And he's like fully drained of blood and brings him back to the inn, where the professor like diagnoses him with being vampire and says he needs to stake him, but the innkeeper's wife won't allow it, and then he turns into a vampire because of that, and then leads the professor and Alfred to the Count's house.
Yeah.
Which
is just a nightmare.
Yeah. And for the strangest part, and I think it's hilarious, honestly, is it's like very obvious that they're vampires, and it seems like the professor and Alfred both know that they're vampires, but they still kind of just treat them like they're not. Like they're like, yeah, we'll stay in your house, whatever. That sounds like a blast. This will really help with my research.
Yeah, there's a certain level that you're supposed to disconnect from that.
From there, the vampire count's son falls in love with Alfred, the like professor's assistant.
Yeah, there's a little bit of gay panic stuff going on here.
Yeah, a little bit. It's not the funniest part.
No, like just they thought the idea of a gay vampire was the funniest thing on the planet.
They really did think it was funny. And then the ball happens, the daughter gets bitten, and then they end the ball by creating a cross, and then it ends with the daughter becoming a vampire and biting Alfred, and the professor not noticing.
And then there's go-go dancing. It's like very 80s glam rock at the end.
The ending is actually great, and I really liked it.
Yeah, the ending is so good. Like my only complaint about Tanz Der Vampire, as it is in the German production, it's 2.5 hours. Cut it down 20 minutes, and we got a show here.
Yeah, this is a comedy horror thing. Like, it does not need to be as long as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Also, does the vampire theme have to be Total Eclipse of the Heart?
Yes, it does. That's the answer.
The thing is, Jim Steinman was asked about that, like when he did this originally in Vienna. He's like, because the music, I guess we need to bring up the elephant in the room. Jim Steinman is the writer of basically every one of Meatloaf's hit songs, and Meatloaf,
he's the meat of Meatloaf.
He is the protein behind the meatloaf. And you and Meatloaf were bitter enemies to the end, sadly to say.
Yeah, but Jim Steinman, I have no issues with.
Yeah, he apparently is a pretty cool dude, to be honest, by all accounts.
Yeah. Meatloaf was very sad when Jim Steinman died. I do remember that.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, he wrote a lot of hits, so.
Yeah.
Including the one that he decided to just throw into this, I assume.
When asked about it, he was like, I originally wrote it as a vampire song, and we were doing this thing in Vienna, and honestly, I didn't think anyone would notice. That was his excuse.
Didn't think anyone would notice.
No one would notice that one of the greatest pop songs of all time was in your musical about vampires?
I am nearly 100% sure that was his exact wording, too.
I want to say, and it's probably fully unintentional, but the entire show has this comedic tone to it, and it feels like a parody of Phantom of the Opera in a way, with like the dramatic, like this person's like kidnapping this woman, and then it feels like an intentional parody. It's like the Phantom of the Opera, like the Phantom character, the vampire, just sings an 80s pop song, and that's his big number.
You're absolutely correct. In fact, I'm willing to bet you are not the only one to make this connection, which is a perfect transition into the USA. So this is a huge hit in Germany, like one of the biggest hits to ever hit Germany, and really, really well received. Playing for years. While it is playing, there is talks of a Broadway transfer of the Dance of the Vampires. And Liz, I hear you've done a bunch of research into what happened there. You want to sum up how that went?
I will do my best.
And the Phantom of the Opera connection, which is very important.
I will do my best. I didn't have a ton of time to glean this, but I will do my best. Okay, so basically, it was gonna come to the U.S., and then they were looking to cast someone, and so they had a bunch of people they were thinking of, like David Bowie was apparently on this list.
That could work. That
would have actually been really
so
good.
So is John Travolta. So
that would have worked worse. That probably would not have worked.
And Richard Gere?
Chicago just happened.
Yeah, that's true. Interesting. But they ended up coming to agreement with the one, the only, Michael Crawford,
who originated the role of the Phantom of the Opera.
The OG Phantom. But apparently Michael Crawford was a nightmare to get a contract with.
What kind of things was he putting in the way? Like, what did he want?
He sought assurance. Okay, this is a quote from Wikipedia. He sought assurance that he would receive the role of Von Krolak in any resulting film version, having recently lost the film role of Phantom to Antonio Banderas,
who would later be replaced with Gerard Butler.
Well, that's a very funny thing to have in the contract of a massive flop.
There was I want to be in your flop movie, Joel Schumacher. And Crawford had 4 made points in his contract, and only 2 he got. So
Okay, that's fair.
So
That's a good contract.
he had very bad lawyers, apparently. So he got the salary and everything, and then instead of a 3-year contract, he had a 1-year contract. So if it
that was good for him.
he would not be here
he
a long
didn't have
time.
to. He only had to play 56 full performances.
Yeah, and apparently Crawford wanted to make the vampire more funny,
Yeah,
on the lines of a Mel Brooks movie.
and boy did he.
Is Mel Brooks proud?
I don't.
Yeah. I think the producers just hit Broadway and they're like, we want do that.
Yeah, can we get the Dracula Dead and Loving It to Broadway a little quicker? Go.
So Jess, you actually watched this.
Yes, I did.
Why?
Because when you bring up Michael Crawford in a Mel Brooks comedy from the musical we just watched, which was like a very serious comedy, a very much more like it's funny because we're taking it serious type.
It's like a true horror comedy, I would say.
Yeah.
Like the vampire is never supposed to be like, oh, he's just silly, who cares?
No. So, Andrew, how do you describe the first time we see the vampire in Tanz Der Vampire, the German production?
He's in like a dark room and he's singing this very dramatic song about how God's like dead and gone or something like that.
Okay. How's this? Michael Crawford comes down in a bedazzled coffin box that opens up when he says, God has left the building, a la Elvis. And then he comes out.
Yeah. He
And
also.
So he says it like Elvis? He's like,
Yes.
God has left the building.
Yeah.
Also,
Like that?
apparently, this accent is described on Wikipedia as a bizarre mix of Italian and Cockney.
That sums it up. I in the bootleg I found
Humor.
I could not place the accent. So, but from the opening, we open with these kids and this mother, and they're like, it's 18 something, and they literally say it's 18 whatever, and that's a running joke. That's their favorite joke. Every time they say what year it is, it's 1880 something is what they say every time. And the worst part is the audience in this bootleg are fucking loving it. They are loving every single stupid joke in this thing. They're eating
Paid
it
audience, do you think?
I can't even say, but they are. I'm surprised it was flopping considering how many of these jokes were selling. But they lean into the total eclipse of the heart thing because the ticking clock is the total eclipse of the moon, which eventually builds into the total eclipse of the heart. So he runs into Sarah just in the woods, and he's like, oh, what are you doing here? She's like, it's my 18th birthday tomorrow on Halloween at midnight, the same time as the total eclipse of the heart. Then Michael Crawford looks into the audience, and he's like, oh, it's perfect. And then the audience laughs. And then throughout the entire first act, he like dresses in drag and does all these funny voices and costumes where they're like, oh, and they turn the garlic thing into a garlic burger bar. Yeah.
It sounds like the vampire is like the genie from like Twisted or something.
It 100%. It gives me the vibe of Star Kid without any funny jokes. That is the best way to describe the tone of this. Like, okay, for one point, they come across the girl and she's only half dranked from a vampire. And then he's like, no, you can. The only way for you to become a full vampire is to be shrunk of blood, as out of blood as the scrotum of a mummy. And then the audience laughs. That's the kind of humor that there is in this show. Reference humor, vulgar, juvenile humor.
I guess we should probably go over what the humor is like in the German production.
Go for it.
I don't know about how you would describe it, but I would say a lot of the humor is coming from like the professor character being very like bumbling and just kind of vampire related humor. Like one joke that sticks out to me was one of the characters is coming into this room where there is a corpse that everyone is like, oh, it's going to turn back into a vampire, right? So this woman comes in and she has a crucifix, and the vampire comes back and he's like, oh, that doesn't work on me. I'm a Jewish vampire.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay. Like, that's very silly, but it's like, I guess that makes sense in like a vampire lore way.
But they play it like sincerely, which is the reason why it kind of works.
Yeah, and then like a lot of the humor later on is like there's an entire song number about books that the professor sings because he finds this big library. Meanwhile, the other character, Alfred, is like desperately trying to find his his girl, Sarah, who is like somewhere in the building, and he's just the professor is just completely ignoring him when he's like telling him like, oh, I found her, she's like kidnapped, and like I found her, and he's just singing about books, like for no real reason, and it's like that's the type of humor that you'd see, I guess.
Let me just show you a comparison between the two vampires. How about I do that? All right, so. Oh, now I gotta remember which one it is. So, Liz, this is what our vampire looks like in Tanz Der Vampire. It's Drew Starrett, looking all sexy, long hair, all that. You get it?
He's got like a Nosferatu thing going on with his hands and things.
Yes,
too.
Exactly. He's weird looking. Here's Michael Crawford.
Yeah, he just looks like
He's got a mullet. He's the Phantom of the Opera, but he's got a mullet.
Yeah, the first guy's hotter.
And here's another shot of him. Like, he just kind of, like, literally, I don't know what they were going for with him.
He isn't, I saw, like, one clip of him that Jess sent me because he wanted me to see what this was.
Yeah.
And he is just not funny at all.
I hate to
Actually,
say
that's
this,
probably...
but he looks like Meatloaf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He looks like Meatloaf in his younger days.
He looks like Meatloaf about a week
There's
ago.
probably a really good comparison, actually, with the scene that you actually showed me.
Yeah. Because what happened in that scene that I showed you?
That's the first time that Sarah and the vampire meet, which in the German version, she is like in this, it's like an elaborate inn set, like, and she's in the center of it. And like everything goes dark and the vampire is like standing over her, like towering above her, and like, you will come to the midnight ball with me, like, and then he like vanishes. You know, like it's like kind of like
moody and scary.
Creepy. Yeah. And then in the Broadway version, what she's like laying in bed and then he's like, oh, you should come to the ball with me. Like, it's gonna be sweet. Like, you'll wear like nice clothes.
It is literally I know. He's not exaggerating at all, and we all know Michael Crawford got his start in comedy as like Frank Spencer on that one Some Mothers Do Have 'Em TV show. So I get that he really wanted to separate this from the Phantom, but my God. Read the room. It would have
been funnier if he was just doing the Phantom thing again.
If he was just playing it serious, because everything else is just so broad and gross and mean and juvenile and sexual. Also, here's a real fucked up thing about the opening scene with Michael Crawford. Like, okay, there's a sponge involved in the German version, correct, Andrew? That the boy gets. Explain how that happens in your version, real quick.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a joke. But, like, when they first meet, he's, like, picking up this sponge on the bathtub, and then she comes back and gets it, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And then later on, somehow the vampire has the sponge, and he sees it, and he's like, my sponge! And he, like, runs over to it, and then, like, the vampire holds it over his head that he has the girl kidnapped.
Yeah. And the girl, we first introduce her in the tub, scrubbing herself with the sponge. Like, that's the tie to that. It's not just a thing. In the Michael Crawford version, in that first scene with Sarah, where he gives her a quick little bite, like just a little suckle, he's like, oh yeah, here's a sponge! And he gifts her a sponge out of nowhere. And everyone, including like the audience, is like, what, why? And me having seen the German version, I'm like, I get why sponge, but
why though?
Brain no compute why that's here at this moment. So, Liz, Jim Steinman distanced himself from this production, am I right?
Yes, he did.
Yes. So much as to write some stuff on his blog that night, I'm pretty sure. Do you have those quotes ready?
I can pull them up right now.
Cool, because I don't quite know what he had to say. I just know that he was not happy with the way that the production was going. And I don't blame him, considering what it was and what it became. Can you imagine something like this happening today? Yes, we will be covering it soon. I forgot all about it. There's a literal one-to-one comparison scenario we have for this. In the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory musical. where it took such a big drastic change when coming to America. Do you know anything about this, Andrew?
No. What happened there?
I can just hear the audience screaming at me like, oh my God, he's mentioning it. I don't want to ruin any surprises because it did just get patron requested for us, so we're going to cover it soon. But in the UK, they just did a very cute version of the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory story, where it's on Broadway, like they're trying to ape Matilda. But then Broadway comes along, and they turn it into this violent, cynical, mean, vulgar comedy with humor pitch black. And everyone's
Maybe
like, what happened here? What happened here? And so many people have requested us doing that just because, like, it would be difficult because I would have to force you to watch two different versions of the show, which is often very hard for me to get you to do. But I think it would be worth it in that case.
Well, it sounds interesting, and oh boy, I hope that it's good.
So Jim Steinman made a show of his disapproval of the project by not attending opening night and publicly distancing himself from the show that he had resulted from too many cooks' approach. He wrote, "This show that I wrote is not at the Minskoff. This show is dear to me, is still running in Vienna. The one at the Minskoff was just a job." Days later on his own blog, he would deny responsibility for what had occurred, writing, "Dance of the Vampires, as we know, was utter shit," in one post and describing the production as a shit pile in another. He stated in other blog entries that his music was wasted on that show and was careful to make a clear distinction between the Broadway version, referred to as DOTV, and the successful European version, referred to as Tanz. So, imagine...
Oh, wait.
You know what? When
I
you're
found
right,
the
you're
blog.
right.
It's
though.
on Wikipedia. I found more quotes.
Oh, give me more quotes. What we
Okay.
got?
Here we go. "I can't believe the American people would fall for it, but ironically, even the most rabid Democrat kid has to admit the sizable part of Obama is the same shiny object."
He said that?
Yes.
Dude, what?
Jim Steinman ate the same cookie as a meatloaf.
The last quote of this is, "We are all in the gutter."
Oh, so he took the red pill, didn't he?
I guess so.
Total eclipse of the sanity. On that note, it's time for us to move on to our favorite section. It's time for previews, where we compare our opinions to those of the New York theater critics when this first came out.
It's time for previews. It's time for previews.
Andrew, I'm actually going to make you read this because it's a good old Ben Brantley, and he is very petty here.
I'm happy to hear it.
All right. This is for the Broadway production, of course. And I feel like we need the Andrew stank on it.
Let's dig in. Ben Brantley, in their review for the New York Times, wrote that, "Where's a mask when you need one? Michael Crawford, who sported a dashing half-mast for his Tony-winning performance in The Phantom of the Opera in 1988, would have done well to have donned a fuller version for his return to Broadway. Rigged up as a taxidermic variation of his Phantom persona, Mr. Crawford opened last night in a show called Dance of the Vampires at the Marquis Theater. It is an enterprise to be associated with only under the veil of anonymity." Anonymity. Oh my goodness, I can't say it like that. Actually, some far from anonymous names, in addition to that of Mr. Crawford, spice the credits for this clueless musical adaptation of The Fearless Vampire Killers. This is a production that inspires you to check your program open-mouthed at every intermission to make sure you didn't misread it. Oh no.
Oh no.
Hopes were high that this musical might be in the league of platinum-plated flops like Carrie and Moose Murders. Moose Murders?
Liz, look that up while Andrew keeps reading. We got to know more about Moose Murders.
Are we covering Moose Murders at any point?
Someone patron request Moose Murders.
And it's true that there are moments that climb into the stratosphere of legendary badness. Damn. No one, even after a quart of straight gin, would be able to erase the memory of Mr. Crawford as a blood-sucking aristocrat and Mandy Gonzalez as his toothsome prey, shrieking at a revised version of Mr. Steinman's pop hit Total Eclipse of the Heart. This scene is perfectly accessorized by a phalanx of pasty hooded creatures holding, I swear, what appears to be flashlights beneath their faces, like monsters in a homemade spook house.
You know, sometimes Ben Brantley can just put it very eloquently.
Amazing. Should I talk about the plot of Moose Murders now?
What's the Moose Murders?
Okay, this is according to Wikipedia. Okay, Moose Murders is a play by Arthur Binknell, self-described as a mysterious farce.
That's it?
Mystery farce. My bad. Okay, here's the plot. The Holloway family arrives at the Wild Moose Lodge, where they have recently purchased in the Adirondack Mountains. They soon find themselves trapped there during a storm, along with Snooks and Howie Keene, failed entertainers who had worked at the lodge before the Holloways arrived, and Nurse Dagmar, who cares for Sidney Holloway, the paterfamilias, and an apparent vegetable. They pass the time playing a murder mystery game. During one night, one Holloway son attempts incest with his mother.
Oh, God, attempts?
And several murders take place. Reviews describe a scene in which a mummified paraplegic arises from his wheelchair to kick a man dressed as a moose in the crotch. But this episode does not appear in the original script.
It had a single performance at the Eugene
Holland
O'Neill
Taylor
Theater.
was in it.
Wait, can we ask her? Holland, tell us about this. Just tell us. I don't care about your other wonderful projects like Legally Blonde. Just tell me all about the Moose Murders. Oh my God. Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
They want to do a bunch of revivals.
Of Moose Murders?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Is it like a The Room situation?
I think so. It's
Yeah.
it's notorious because it only lasted one day on Broadway. One
Can we just
performance.
have a musical version of The Room?
No, it would be too good.
Yeah, it would be too good.
But you know what else would be better than Moose Murders? Let's go to the insane people over on letterboxd.com. It's time for Reviews Part 2. All right, Liz, Andrew, are you ready for the game of 1 star, 5 star?
I'm ready.
My body is ready.
Your body is ready? Well, what about your brain?
Is this for the movie?
This is for the original Roman Polanski movie that this musical is based off of.
Okay.
I will say it's very close to the German version. I watched quite a few clips of it, and the German version is a good revision of it. Maybe the musical plays a little bit more serious than the movie does, because the movie is meant to be a parody. But
Okay.
they're very close.
Okay.
So, first one. Liz, you're new here. You get to go first.
Oh God.
Good luck.
All right.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you.
All right. Man.
You'll need it.
Oh God.
You maybe not. I don't. Damn, that was kind of gay, bro.
5.
That's a 1.
Ooh.
All right, Andrew, your turn.
All right, I'm ready.
You ready?
Yeah.
Hasidic vamps forever.
5 stars.
That is correct.
Let's go. Come on.
All right, Liz, you're up. Yeah. ...
5.
1.
No.
Andrew, you ready?
Yeah.
Sharon Tate. Heart with a banner heart emoji.
5 stars.
That is 1.
What? Get out of here. That is not 1.
That was 1.
Oh my God.
Person is not like Sharon Tate.
Well, I mean, what's the heart for then?
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, Liz.
Total eclipse, I suppose.
How many total clips jokes can we make? Let's find out.
All right, you ready?
More than the show
Are
did.
you ready? Are you ready? Sharon Tate can put a finger in my ass if she wanted to. God damn.
Oh, I could go either way. I'm gonna go 5.
That is correct. We're tied up, guys. Andrew, you're up.
I'm up.
She looks absolutely beautiful, heart emoji. ... And he's there.
Oh,
Referring
shoot.
to Roman Polanski, who plays the nerd character in this.
Of course he
Oh,
fucking does.
shoot. Oh, shoot. That's a really tough one. Oh. I'm going to say 5. I'm still going to say 5.
That is a 1 star.
Oh,
Liz, you ready?
I'm ready.
Leave it to the creepy, pervy director to direct a film that's equal in creepy perviness.
There is some creepy, pervy stuff in this show.
Knowing it comes from Roman Polanski, maybe that paints it a little differently.
Oh yeah, it really does. Creepy pervy. It goes 1.
That is a 5.
Oh wow, that's actually
They liked it. It's creepy and pervy, and they liked
They
it?
like romance's creepy perviness.
I
That's
guess.
concerning.
Andrew, you ready?
I'm ready.
Known in the UK as Dance of the Vampires.
Wait, that's the whole thing?
Yep.
Was the Dance of the Vampires in all caps?
Yes. So is UK, but
I mean, they know fun trivia about it. 5 stars?
that's a 1.
That's a what? What the fuck, dude?
Liz, you ready?
I'm ready. And if Andrew's not doing good, I'm doing even worse.
You both are tied, so you're both doing equally bad.
Good.
Oh, good. We're on the same level.
Say what you will about that flop musical Dance of the Vampires, at least it made this seem interesting. 90 minutes felt that like 9 hours.
Oh, God. 1.
That is correct. All right.
That was a pretty easy one, I think.
I think they're going to be pretty easy from this point forward, to be honest.
All right, we'll see.
LMFAO, how I hate Roman Polanski, ... LOL, watch for Sharon only.
Probably a 1.
That is correct. All right, Liz, you ready?
I'm ready.
Nothing could have prepared me for this.
That's what I say when I wake up every morning. No. 1.
That is a 5. Andrew, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we only have 2 left.
It's hard to review a Roman Polanski.
Okay, white men are disgusting, ...
1?
That is
1 star?
correct.
Okay.
Liz, you ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, wait, we got one more after this. So this if you tie this up, that'll be a tiebreaker.
Okay.
Not funny and gay.
5.
That's a 1.
Should have been a 5.
It should have
Yeah.
been 5. That's a 5-star letterbox review if I heard any.
That is fair. Andrew, you have 1 Brie views today. Congratulations.
Why do I feel like I didn't win anything?
You watched Dance of the Vampires.
I didn't though, thankfully. You had to watch it.
I did.
Yeah, he watched the German one.
I watched Tanz Der Vampire and it was pretty good.
Also, while we are 40 minutes into this episode, I want to say this is a Patreon request from Angela. Thank you for paying us to talk about this. This was a lot more fun than I expected. But while we're talking about Patreon, why don't we go into a mid-show announcement and talk about the patrons?
All right.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt you in the middle of the show, but we've got a sale at you! Wow! Today's show is brought to you by the extremely kind donations by our donors over at Patreon. Over at Patreon, you get lots of fun stuff. You got an entire Patreon video made just for patrons because we couldn't get it on YouTube. So that's there. You get commentaries from me and Andrew. You get the video versions of these episodes, which contain probably around 15-20 minutes of extra content.
It's not good content, but it's there.
You know, I'd say our Moulin Rouge extended conversation is worth the money. I think that episode's worth
some of it definitely is. Yeah.
I think that episode is worth the watch of the full episode. As well, you get like a weekly podcast with me and Elizabeth Eston. What are we talking about right now, Liz?
We're talking about Tangle the series.
Sometimes. Other times we just kind of go on a tangent about Oklahoma that fucks.
Yeah, that was a long episode about Oklahoma that fucks and a little bit of Tangle.
Yeah, sometimes there ain't much to talk about in an episode.
Yeah.
But we've also covered Schmigadoon and Encore over there. We've got like 2 full seasons of content up there, and we're just going to keep on going. But if you want it back when Andrew was on it, you can hear our Glee episodes and a couple episodes of Galvant.
Glee.
And hopefully in the near future, Andrew's going to be on there a lot more too, to maybe hop on an episode of Tangled with us. So that could be fun.
Yeah.
But Andrew, who's currently supporting us over at Patreon?
Our current patrons: Melissa Goldman, John Donna, Leighton Ackles, Danielle Renix, Jess Stampede, Ewan Cassidy, Taskier, Monica Thoreau, Elios Fitzgerald, Mina Maneri, Brent Black, Nathaniel Stacy Coombe, Joseph Evans Green, Carrie Ahern, Mary Lou Choquette, John Vanals, Russ Walker, Toriana Frazier, Sammy the Most Lopez, Leanna Morton, Angela, Kaylee Blazer, Musical Hell, Emily Gracie, Kyle Summers, Janae C., Scoot in the Technicolor Dreamcoat, Liz Lim, Allison Steller, Nothing is Certain Except Beth and Taxes, Thespian, Ren Cullen, Rafael Martinez Salaz, Robert Benjamin, Jessica T., Mitchell Young, Chai Teacup, Birdman 69, Daniel Smith, Cinemageddon Reviews, Katie McDonough, Timothy Keys, Chris Marcotte, Mimu, Kiji Marie Anastasio, Leela, RJ Noriga, Avon Reagan, Charlie B., Patrick Deering, Joe, Avery Brinson, Marilyn Brown, La Femme Fictionale, Bjorn Hermans, Mac the Knife, and Erica S. They give us a little financial support that helps us keep the lights on here at Musicals with Cheese, help us keep paying Brie and paying Liz and keeping this as a functioning, thingamajig we do here. Also, a very important thing that I wanted to point out,
if you pay enough money per month, you can choose what musical we talk about on here, which would be, it's really kind of cool that you get to do that, isn't it? Isn't it?
It is. You
It
can make
is.
us talk about German musicals.
Yeah, like what other podcasts you hear about like on musical theater that like actually talks about European musicals? Not to be that guy, but we
I didn't understand a single word of this show, and I loved it.
I mean,
You understand the eclipse of the heart?
yeah, it's just
I
like
understood the melody.
my rendition of the German language. On that note, let's get back to the show. So these songs are a mess.
There's a lot of variety here. You
Yeah.
have the songs, and then you have Total Eclipse of the Heart.
And that's it.
Yeah. No, but like, honestly, there's a lot to like here, I think.
Oh yeah, the score is
I-
great. It's just they tend to blend together.
I really liked most of the Professor's songs, even if they were all kind of the same song.
Yeah.
But I thought that most of them were very funny.
Like, let's talk about Books in Act 2, which is easily your favorite song.
I thought it was a very funny song. I actually think his Logic song I liked more, but
Okay,
I
let me
forget
see
which
if I
one
can.
that was even called. Was that called? Is that called Truth?
I
Is
think that
War,
would make
Wahrheit?
sense. That makes sense, yeah.
Wenn in mir der Verdacht erwacht, es wird mir was verschwiegen, versuche ich mit aller Macht die Wahrheit rauszukriegen. Schon in der Wiege fing ich an, mein Spielzeug aufzubiegen. Im ungestümen Wissensdrang zerlegte ich sogar die Kuckucksuhr. Ob Osterhas, ob Nikolaus, ich ließ mich nicht betrügen. In der Schule fand ich schnell heraus, dass alle Lehrer lügen. Keine Antwort, die sie gaben, konnte jemals mir genügen. Denn in Büchern eingegraben studierte ich die Rätsel der Natur.
It's very silly to me that someone would sing about logic and the whole song, like, if you like, we had titles on so we could read the lyrics in English,
Yeah.
but it was like, the whole song is about logic and how it's like silly to like look for magical explanations of things. Meanwhile, he is a professor that just exclusively studies vampires.
The irony is lost on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that song is really fun. I think the professor as a character is a Broadway caricature we don't see very often, which is just like the old befuddled man, which I can't really think of very many of them outside of like the modern Major General.
I also just kept expecting him to die, and he never did.
Yeah,
And
that
I
was
was really happy about that.
That was a shocking choice. Get turned or something. Nah. This
No,
befuddled
which
old
honestly,
man.
totally fine by me because I really liked the professor.
But wouldn't it be better if the Dracula was telling a bunch of jokes too, and they were like fighting each other for like joke time?
They like fought each other for joke time. Yeah, that would have been. It would have been like Hotel Transylvania, but like way funnier because it would have been funny.
I was waiting for where that analogy was going. I wanted to see where that train was going.
It couldn't go anywhere. The train stopped right there because it wasn't funny.
Hotel Transylvania. Let's talk about God is Dead, which is probably like one of
Gott ist tot.
which is like one of the most metal titles ever that they later changed into the Michael Crawford one to God Has Left the Building.
Gott ist tot, nach ihm wird nicht mehr gesucht. Wir sind zum ewigen Leben verflucht. Es zieht uns näher zur Sonne, doch wir fürchten das Licht. Wir glauben nur Lügen, verachten Verzicht. Was wir nicht hassen, das lieben wir.
Yeah, you can't say that in America. You can't say God is dead.
No.
What do you think you are, Nisha?
Well, you could in like 2014.
What, on your YouTube page?
No, because of that movie.
Oh, but he's not dead.
God's not dead? That movie?
Yeah, that
Or
one.
the sequel? Or the
or
threequel?
both sequels.
It's a ballsy name for a movie because it's so easy to just make fun of it by saying God is dead.
Yeah. Oh, we got the amazing atheist over here with his biting satirical commentary.
It is me. It is I, the TJ.
How often will we be mentioning 20-aughts YouTubers? Let us know.
That's my culture. That is who I am. I cannot stop mentioning it.
Should we bring up Doug Walker again?
Oh no.
We got
no,
any more
I will
Doug
stop
Walker
this before
jokes
it
to
gets
make?
too far.
Here comes the funny, guys. Here comes the funny.
I will stop this.
Oh my god, there he is, Doug Walker. He's here to talk about how vampires work.
God is dead.
I don't think it's appropriate to say that in a vampire show.
Okay, I think this song was really good. I kind of feel like I heard it somewhere before, you know? And it's like,
Yeah.
I couldn't quite put my finger on it, though.
I could put a total eclipse on it, though.
You're not making sense. What does that mean?
It means that there's a total eclipse of the heart, and Jim Steinman just put it into his musical. This wasn't even like the fully fledged version of it. It's like
When you first said that it was in the show, it was before I had listened to it, and I was like, okay, so it like shows up one time, right? No.
It's the theme.
It's the theme. It's the theme. This is the first time they do it, and then they just keep doing it,
and they just embrace it. The thing that I thought was brave of the Broadway version is they just kept it as "turn around," like they kept that as the melody and all the. Where here they
kept the lyrics.
Yes. Whereas the German one changes it to "be prepared," which at least kind of fits.
They also they changed the melody a lot.
Just enough where it's like you think you're going crazy until you like have it spelled out for you.
Yeah, I think at one point they do actually just sing it, and it's like it is the song. But like the first time it comes
when it's in
they
God
do,
is Dead, you're like, oh, am I hearing that?
like they do the melody, like the total eclipse of the heart, like that part.
Yeah.
But they don't do the rest of the song.
They don't do the
whole
turn
rest of it is
around
different.
part.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's an interesting choice in a show that isn't a jukebox musical to have just this song be in it.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing that's so whack about it. Like, if Jim Steinman was like, I'm going to take my whole repertoire of songwriting that I have in front of me and turn that into a vampire musical, at least I would know that going in. Here it's just this one song that comes up a lot.
All the time.
And it's a baffling choice. Maybe outside of America, maybe in Germany, Total Eclipse of the Heart isn't nearly as big or as known.
I kind of doubt that, I'm going to be honest. I feel like that song was very, very
Liz,
big.
look up the top 10 charts for Total Eclipse of the Heart and see if it had anywhere in Germany. Let us know.
I don't know. Maybe it didn't, but
I mean, I can't imagine Total
I
Eclipse
can't
of the
even
Heart.
complain that much though, because I like that song.
I like
so
that
it's
song.
I
I don't know if it screams a vampire to me the way that it does for Jim Steinman, apparently.
I mean, it has the word eclipse in it.
It almost makes more sense in the Michael Crawford USA one, because at least the eclipse is kind of like the MacGuffin or the ticking clock.
What else? What other songs should we talk about?
It reached number 16 in Germany.
Oh.
Yeah, they knew about it, Jess.
It's not a top 10
It
hit,
reached
though.
number 1 in Ireland.
Okay, maybe I'm not.
If you want to reach number 1 in Ireland, you only need like 10 people to listen
It
to your
reached
song,
number
though.
1 in South Africa. It reached number 1 in many countries.
But not Germany, though.
No, 16.
Yeah, 16 is pretty high, Jess. I feel like they heard of it.
I feel like more people have heard of the musical Tanz Der Vampire than they have Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Let's talk about Books, which I thought was a funny
Yeah,
song.
you love this song.
Vi også Kopernikus und alle Humanisten, Paracelsus, Leibniz, Crucius, die frühen Okkultisten, Jubelglocken, Thomson, Mendelssohn, Moral und Kausalisten und Descartes und Hamilton und andere Erforscher der Natur. Es wird bald dunkel werden. William Shakespeare und Eckhart und Leon Machiavelli und Erasmus, Schelling, Kierkegaard, Van Sachs und Mary Shelley, La Fontaine, der Gore, Plinius, der Gamma, Botticelli, Herr der Maler, und Livius in Lederleinen, Pampe und Broschur.
It's just a patter song, I feel like.
It's a very good patter song, yes.
He kind of repeats the same thing over and over again, but it's very fun, and the joke really works for me. I really love that he's just completely ignoring the person trying to talk to him.
I think that as a comedy number, this works because it's also pleasant to listen to in its own world.
Yeah, yes. I would say it'd be frustrating that the professor character is like a specialist in vampires and is so uncaring about hunting the vampires that he is living with. But honestly, I don't care. I think that makes it funnier.
I do want to talk about a song that I think kind of works, but also is bad, depending on which version you're listening to.
Okay.
If you're going into this as just like a song that's from a musical, and you're just listening to a German version in English, which many people have done the cover, this song is pretty cool, and that's Confession of a Vampire.
When the world has drawn its final breath and extinguished all the lights, there'll be nothing left but a lifeless wasteland and an endless appetite. Nothing left but a soundless heartbeat and a ruthless appetite.
I believe this was written especially for more recent production.
Okay.
And has been since. So the version we watched, the German version that we watched, it's not the most recent German version. Fun fact: they have done so many revisions to the show. The most recent one changes a lot of the order and how the structure works, but sadly, there's no bootlegs with subtitles, so I picked the one with subtitles, so we could actually properly understand it. I feel like that was a reasonable choice. But
yeah, I think so.
But I believe this song was written for the Michael Crawford Broadway version, and the song is it's a weird, dark song for such a goofy musical. It works on its own, but in the Broadway version, very, very, very strange. It's like, imagine if Music of the Night happened right before the end of By Jeeves. That's how I describe the vibe.
Honestly, I'm surprised that didn't happen.
By Jeeves is probably comparable for how blatantly unfunny and boring a musical could be.
You know what? Actually, yeah, the
I've seen
humor
one
is very
clip of
similar.
By Jeeves, and it's enough for me.
It's very, very similar in like it feels like they're begging you to laugh. Like, please, we're trying to be funny. We're really trying to be funny. Like, please laugh.
And I really, really wish that it had been better, because imagine how cool it would have been to have a version of this that we have in America.
I think it could still happen, but probably not anytime soon. If it stays popular in Germany, though, maybe they'll try again.
I mean, I wouldn't surprise me, but I don't know. I feel like the moment's passed. And let's be clear here. As we've said many times for most of our European productions, they look so much better than anything we ever get on Broadway. Just the stagecraft alone. We didn't give that enough credit.
We didn't even talk. Yeah, there's like the inn set is like a big like house with multiple floors that looks super nice. Then there's like sets made for like smaller scenes that just only show up like twice that are super nice. Like there's the book set, which is like multiple bookshelves that slide apart, so then he can enter like a different room with like a huge curtain. It's like really good set work. And yeah, I feel like a lot of times you don't see that on Broadway. We'll watch stuff that's like they have a chair and it's like that's their set.
You mean Rent?
Yeah, like for real. It's like, how much did you spend on this? Like, is this supposed to wow me? You got a chair up there.
I guess, like, Liz, how much were they paying Michael Crawford per week? Like, as I know, it was like some unreasonable amount, like $180,000 a week just for him to exist on stage.
Okay, so the contract ended up being $30,000 a week.
Okay,
I believe
you could use $30,000 just to like build a cool set, you know.
A more sensible Crawford claimed the initial reports of $180,000 were ridiculous and a piece of fantasy journalism from my home country. Adding that anyone who knows how many people you can fit in a theater knows that you don't do Broadway to make money.
Oh, I don't know if that's the truth. That's not the truth, Ellen.
Also, at the end of this paragraph is the possibility of the film role, meanwhile, was never mentioned again.
Well, I want there to be
film wasn't gonna happen.
See, now I really want a film version of this just so Michael Crawford has to come back.
He has to reprise it.
Force him out of retirement.
Honestly,
doing?
All right, one more song to talk about.
Let's go. Total Eclipse of the Heart.
The Dance of the Vampires.
All right, let's go.
The Dance of the Vampires at the end of the end of it.
Nimm, was du kriegst, denn sonst wird dir genommen. Sein Schwein oder man macht dich zur Sau. Mach dir Geld und kauf dir die Welt. Nur nicht zimperlich, die Sitten sind grau. Zeig deine Faust, denn sonst wirst du geschlagen. Renn nicht vor, oder du wirst übersehen. Bist du bestimmen, statt andere zu fragen, musst du lernen, über Leichen zu gehen.
What happens, Andrew?
Okay, basically the whole show ends, and then then a bunch of vampires come out and just start singing and dancing about the dance of the vampires, and it's a great number, and it's a ton of fun, and it's the best way to end the show.
It is so goofy. Like, I had zoned out a bit, and then I saw it, and I was like, this is great.
It's like the DreamWorks ending where everyone comes out and dances.
Make a mind, everyone's like, ah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that, except for it's like an original song, and it isn't Total Eclipse of the Heart, and it's super good.
It is.
So you're describing the end of the Emoji Movie is what you're telling me.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, it's very similar to the Emoji Movie in a lot of ways, except there's more vampires, and it's good.
Wow, really?
Just need some James Corden, we're good.
Oh, James Corden as Krolok. God
Wouldn't that
has
just be the
left the
same-
building.
Oh, I
Wouldn't
can
that
actually
just be
see
Michael
that now.
Crawford, but worse?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I can see it now, and that's just worse.
That's disturbing.
Turn around, bright eyes.
James Corden needs to just go away.
Serious.
1 star.
Well, speaking of James Corden, how about we give our overall thoughts and our cheese ratings? Andrew, you're up.
Okay. So I will not be rating the Broadway version because I didn't see more than 2 minutes of it. But if I was, I would say do not watch it because it looks horrible.
Yeah.
And Ben Brantley is always correct about most things. So, I mean, he said it was pretty bad.
No.
You know we agree with him most of the time.
No, but when he does get it right, it's pretty fun.
As far as the German one, though, I mean, if you can speak German, you're probably going to really like this. And if you can't speak German, find the version with subtitles and check it out because it was actually really good, and I really liked it. It's got some, like, humor that didn't quite land for me, and I wonder if it was the language barrier or if it just wasn't quite up my alley.
I feel like once you have it like in German and then you're translating it through text, you kind of lose the timing of a joke.
Yeah, but honestly, it's still funnier than some of the comedies that I've seen in English from that I've watched for this show.
It was funnier than Mrs. Doubtfire, I will say that.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's honestly pretty rare that you see a good horror comedy. Those are very easy to fuck up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna give it that. It's good. Check it out, or at least listen to it. I don't know. And then cheese rating, I'm gonna give it Vampire Slayer cheese from the Face Rock Creamery in Oregon.
Hell yeah.
It's infused with garlic, which there actually is an entire song in the show.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about the garlic song, but there is a song called Garlic in both versions. But in the Broadway version, it's about garlic burgers because America.
Yeah, because Americans don't like garlic, and obviously Germans love garlic a lot. So.
Oh yeah, they got those fucking vampires.
They got all those vampires over there. Yeah.
Liz, what is your cheese rating of our discussion?
I thought your discussion was wonderful. I learned a lot about German vampires and the many facets of them, how they have total eclipse of their hearts all the time for whatever reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But constantly eclipsing their own hearts.
Can't be doing that. It's really painful.
Yeah, I do love a good horror comedy. What We Do in the Shadows is one of my favorite comedies.
Oh, I think it only works when it's vampires.
Yeah, it's an incredible vampire comedy. And
oh wait,
this sounds very compelling.
That just reminded me of the fucking Michael Crawford joke that made me want to, commit genocide.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, jeez.
I meant to say fratricide, but...
Okay.
He was like, sometimes I look in the mirror and I don't even see the person I'm supposed to see. I don't recognize that man. And that was the joke.
Oh.
Hilarious.
And
That's a big brain joke.
I really wanted to smash my head into the wall, mostly because What We Did in the Shadows nailed that joke so much better.
It really did. Anyway,
Yeah, What We Do in the Shadows. If you want a show about vampires who are incompetent, I mean that movie and the TV show that came out of it they're both very good.
Oh yeah, I started watching with my significant other recently, and it is very good.
But I do not think that is what Dance of the Vampires was trying to be.
No. They were trying to be a Mel Brooks comedy.
They're trying to be the producers of vampires.
You mean bad? But what's your cheese rating, Liz?
I'm going to give it Cambozola cheese.
Ooh.
Which is a German cheese, which is commonly mislabeled as blue brie cheese.
We miss brie, cheese blue. Thank you, Liz. I Dance of the Vampire, very bad musical. Tanz Der Vampire, lot of fun, good time, good Halloween musical. But the only cheese I can give it is from Milligan's Food Group. It's Eclipse cheese, specifically the mild version. It's like little blocks of cheese that are called Eclipse cheese because it's a total eclipse of the cheese.
Good joke.
Good solid joke.
You know what?
Yeah.
How many times? Did someone get a counter? How many times did we do it?
Yeah, does someone count
Hey,
any
Juliet,
clip
you
jokes
made
for
it
me?
to this point in the video. Now, or this podcast. Now, re-listen to it and count how many times we said Eclipse, and then put it in the cheese rating thing. Do it, Juliet.
Don't yell at the keeper.
I'm not. They won't do it, and nor do they have to, unless they were doing it on their own for no reason. You know who else is doing it on their own for no reason, Andrew?
You got me. You beats me.
Our wonderful patrons. Thank you guys for listening. Please follow us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher at Musicals with Cheese. We're on Twitter at Cheesy Musicals, Patreon Musicals with Cheese, Instagram Musicals with Cheese, YouTube page Musicals with Cheese. We should have a brand new video up there by the time this comes out, in theory, right, Liz?
Yeah.
If there's no copyright issues, there could be a fun Annie video up there.
It could be.
We have a patron-only podcast where it's me and Liz talking about TV shows. Go check that out on our Patreon. Email us at musicaltheaterlives@gmail.com. Our title card was created by the amazing Jolene Casco. Go follow them on Instagram at Jolene Casco. Our keeper of the cheese is Juliet Antonio. We love you, Juliet. This show is produced by the wonderful, the incredible, the sadly absent Brianna Jones. But thank you to Elizabeth Eston for stepping in for her today. I hope you had a lot of fun today.
I did. Happy to be here.
And if you loved her this week, you're going to love her next week because she's on the next week's episode too.
Yeah.
Our theme songs were created by Robin Nash of IOU Music UK. Thank you to Robin for doing that. Thank you to the Broadway Podcast Network for having us on the platform and for not kicking us off for making fun of Michael Crawford. All right, you guys, are you ready to wrap this on up?
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Hit the music.
Turn
And
around.
I need you now tonight.
And I need
And I
you
need
more,
you more
than ever.
And
And
if they only hold me tight,
This is art.
we hold it on forever.
Total eclipse of the heart.
Total eclipse of the fart.
Damn, he finally did it. It was
did.
all building to that.
We finally made the joke.
And we'll see you next week on Musicals with Cheese.